dazzle you with some wines and perhaps some beer and some non-alcoholic drinks. Well, I'm trying to take credit here, but I should really give credit to my next guest. Emma Campbell is the general manager, co-owner of Corner Peach. Welcome, Emma.
Hi,
great to have you here. You've been on the show before, but I'd like you to introduce everybody to the idea of Corner Peach, and you and your partner have done such a wonderful job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we opened Corner Peach as a restaurant the year before the pandemic, and then kind of scrambling for options to keep our business afloat, we decided to kind of start selling beer and wine to go when the liquor board kind of like allowed small businesses to do that. We decided to keep that model post-pandemic, and we actually opened a little wine store. We also sell kind of like local beers. We're also a bakery, so we make really beautiful homemade bread and kind of other little odds and ends for your pantry to pick up.
Which I think is great, right? Because now you've reopened the restaurant, correct? So the restaurant's open, but you've kept this idea that I imagine the community must have had some great support for you to continue to do it,
It's really nice too, especially for the wine program, to maybe come in for dinner, you have a glass of wine, you're really excited about it, you want to show your friends, you get to go pick up a bottle and take home. It's also really great, obviously, for the holidays on your way. Lots of hosting going on.
Yeah, of course.
You can show up with a bottle, bring a nice little gift, grab a baguette.
Nice.
Perfect way to show up to a party.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, don't show up empty-handed, everybody at home, okay? Visit somebody like Emma.
Exactly.
And she'll help you at Corner Peach. Well, you did bring on, and I think the great thing that you guys do as well is we won't find these in the LCBO, right?
Exactly, correct. I do really like this is an Ontario vineyard as well.
Okay.
So they might be familiar to some people. They're Rosewood, they're in Niagara.
Oh, yes,
So this is their Pinot Gris. It has a little bit of skin contact, so that's kind of considered an orange wine.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting color, right?
Yeah,
it's like sort of got a peachy tone to it.
So all the wines that we carry in stock are kind of considered low intervention wines.
What does that mean exactly?
Kind of meaning that there's very little done to them during the process of making.
I see, okay.
So the winemaker kind of handpicks the grapes, throws them in a vat, and lets the nature do its thing.
That's a great idea. Are there many wineries that are doing that now?
It's actually quite like a dated process, obviously, before like technology of making wine.
Right.
So it's kind of just like a new thing that's coming back. People really like getting in touch with the land and kind of like seeing the beauty that the grapes can do on their own.
So would these be considered more smaller batch wineries then that do this?
Yes and no.
Okay.
For the most part, like we do get a good amount of them, and like even this Rosewood one, they'll continue to do this.
It smells beautiful.
Every year, I assume. So they'll kind of stick with the formula and keep it going.
Should we give this a taste test?
Yeah,
because it's really nice on the nose. Very, very vibrant and fruity, right?
So you kind of get a little bit of texture from the skin contact that's left on the grape. So it gives the white wine like a little bit more body.
Yeah.
Instead of just kind of like a real abrupt finish. But yeah, it's really nice, a little bit peachy. Just like a nice, easy drinking food wine, I'd say, as well.
Very nice, okay. I'll have another little sip here. And then we'll move on to this. Tell me about this particular...
So Puzza Libre, this is an Austrian wine. It's one of my favorites that I've stumbled upon. As soon as it's released, I like to stock up on it.
Really?
Yeah, it's so tasty. It's real nice for kind of like pre-dinner.
I see.
So think like charcuterie board, veggies and dip, kind of snacking.
Nice.
It's a red wine that is best drunk with a little bit of a chill on it.
Okay.
So it almost has a little bit of effervescence. So kind of think like a real light sparkling wine, but as a red.
So does it go then with, I mean, you mentioned charcuterie, so I guess it goes with the sort of spicy, salty, savory, that sort of thing?
Yeah, salty would be great.
Okay.
It's like a high acidity wine, so it definitely like cut through any of those saltiness. Spicy as well. Just also like the chill on it, it's quite refreshing.
Nice.
So it might not hold up too well with like a cut of steak.
Right, okay.
But it's
probably good on its own too, right?
Yeah,
without food, as you said, you know, sort of that pre-dinner. What have you got here? Tell me about this one.
So this is a pet nat. You might have heard that term kind of get thrown around recently. It's a type of sparkling wine, again, where there's kind of minimal interaction.
I see.
So a regular champagne, you would kind of do 2 fermentations of the grapes. This you do one fermentation, and then it's bottled while it's still fermenting.
I see.
So the bubbles are acquired in the bottle.
So they're natural.
Exactly.
So probably not as many bubbles, or am I just making things up now, Emma?
It's usually a little bit of a softer bubble.
Okay.
Also maybe called a frizzante. And you can also see some inconsistencies in the bottles. Not necessarily a bad thing, but you might have one batch that's a little bit more bubbly than the other.
Right.
Just because
that's fun.
It's all science in the bottle, so you don't really know what you're going to get.
What else have you got here? Are these some beers you brought along here?
Yeah, so these are some beers from Burdock. They're in Toronto. Again, you won't find that stuff in the LCBO either. And they do really fun stuff kind of with wine as well.
Okay.
So beer, wine, hybrids, kind of.
Really?
Yeah, so they're usually either aging the beer in a wine barrel or adding wine skins to the beer. So it's kind of, hybrid.
It must be some really interesting flavors you can get with that,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, and really nice colors too.
Right.
And it's kind of like a fun option as well if you're kind of on the fence about what you want to drink.
Yeah.
Comes in like a nice little format as well. And we also just got in, this is another brewery from Toronto. They just started doing a non-alcoholic beer.
Okay.
Which I know lots of people are looking for over the holidays.
For sure,
as
non-alcoholic cocktails and beers and wines. And they've come a long way, haven't they?
They're so tasty these days.
Yeah.
We're getting a bunch in for the holiday season as well, just because it's a really nice option. To kind of still be part of the party. But
yeah, and it's still a lot of the same flavors. I know that the industry sort of struggled with that for a while, but they, as I said, they've come a long way.
The sour beers end up being like very tasty.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah, because they're like a little bit easier to nail down the flavors.
Right.
Either adding a juice or something like that.
Emma, tell everybody at home where they can find you.
We are at 802 and 806 Somerset Street West. That's the restaurant and the store. We're currently open Wednesday to Saturday. The restaurant's open for lunch and dinner, and the store is open from 11 to 5.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for being here. Really appreciate it, Emma. Don't go away. Lots more coming up right after this.